Amazing.
And welcome to episode 227 of the most award-winning, most must-see show to ever hit the Bedford TV airwaves, or any airwaves for that matter. North, south, east, west, backwards, frontwards, diagonally, sideways, any which way you look at it, all around the world. The Wrestling Connection. I am your host, your connection to the wrestling world, a pontiff of the pro wrestling populace, the savant god of the squared circle, the perfect Ken, Mr. Ken Hill, delivering all the news to you in professional wrestling today. My co-host, the so-called breaker of cans, the consumer of wrestling knowledge, Mr. Dan Kaufman, is away on vacation with his lovely girlfriend Allison. He will be back next week. In the meantime, though, in the control room today, we have the lovely Miss Julie Manugian, who is so magnanimously subbing in for Mr. Nick Giglio today while he is out on assignment. So, Miss Julie, welcome back after your, I thought it was your last episode, but apparently you've had a stay of execution. So Julie, welcome to the show today. Today, of course, is the week after the Extreme Rules 2018 pay-per-view, which means it's the Extreme Rules 2018 pay-per-review. And of course, like any review, I have my couch, I have my snacks, and in case you haven't noticed, I have in my possession, once again, for the 16th time, the WK King of Pay-Per-View Championship. That's right, yours truly stormed the extreme battlefield this past Sunday, coming out with a whopping 11 points and the King of Pay-Per-View title. So, suffice to say, last Friday was a rather lucky Friday the 13th for your connection. But before we go into the Extreme Rules pay-per-review, since we don't have Dan today for Hill's highs and Dan's downers, I'm going to bring to you the one-time only segment, Hill's highs and Ken's crashes. So the first and only Hill's high for this week is actually the reintroduction of Hulk Hogan to the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, for those of you uninformed or not caught up on the situation, long story short, when Hogan went to trial against the Gawker website, the Gawker company, basically a TMZ wannabe, what had happened was that, unfortunately, Gawker had filmed and distributed a certain controversial tape of Hogan and some certain sexual misconduct. I'll leave it at that. But also, unfortunately, what popped up during the trial was Hogan making some very controversial racial remarks about an African-American gentleman who was dating his daughter, Brooke, at the time. And unfortunately, those leaked online, and it resulted in an enormous amount of controversy and backlash against the Hulkster, which resulted in him being ousted from the WWE Hall of Fame and basically him being disavowed from any sort of WWE media, television, anywhere. Basically, he was blacklisted, blackballed. No mention of him was to be made. Fast forward a couple of years, and Hogan is now being reinducted, mostly because WWE management feels like it's been long enough. Okay, he's contrite. He understands what he did was wrong. Now, and here's the thing. Okay, if he's truly learned his lesson, I'd say good for him. All right, but generally, I'm in the consensus of what Mark Henry said. Okay, I'm willing to look past. He's willing to look past what he did. This being what Henry said about Hogan, but he wants to see that Hogan truly means that he is sorry for the things he said, and not merely because he was caught saying them. I mean, that's what Hogan said, is more or less said, that he's sorry that he was recorded saying these things. Okay, he's not sorry about what he said specifically. All right, that's kind of where the controversy is. That Hogan doesn't. They want the African American superstars. Henry, Titus O'Neil, all members of the New Day, among others, want to feel like that Hogan is truly sorry, but not that this is merely just a media or a cash grab for Hogan. We'd all hate to think that. We'd all hate to think that Hogan isn't truly sorry about the things he said, but until we have indicated otherwise, that he actually is sorry, most of the superstars have decided to basically remain very indifferent. Like, okay, they're happy that he's back, that he's being reinducted into the Hall of Fame, but at the same time, they're not happy about the fact that he hasn't truly owned up to the things he said in that clip. So I'm going to take this to Julie. I don't know if you know. Julie, I don't know if you saw the news about this, about Hogan being reinducted into the Hall of Fame.
No, I didn't.
Okay, you want to turn the mic just a little bit? I can't hear you in here.
No, I did not know about it.
Right. So, long story short, okay, like I said, he made some very racist statements about a boyfriend of Brooks a few years back. He apparently never expected the clip to be played in a public setting. Got onto the internet, got everywhere. There was a lot of media backlash. Hogan had to be ousted from Hall of Fame. Basically, any mention of him was removed from WWE media, including the website and WWE television. A couple of years later now, he's being reinducted. I guess maybe because management feels like it's been long enough. He understands what he did was wrong. He came out actually at Extreme Rules this past Sunday. Came out to the WWE superstars, the main roster, and apologized to them. But the general feeling amongst the African American contingent of WWE superstars is that he's not so much sorry about what he said. He's sorry that he was exposed saying it.
There's a difference.
It's a huge difference. So basically, he's not sorry about the things he said. He's just sorry that it got leaked out, which is frustrating because it doesn't mean that you're sorry about the fact that people found out that you're a bit of a racist.
Yep.
Okay, well, I want to get your feelings on that. Okay.
Oh, yes, it was definitely racist what he said. Absolutely. And I'm surprised that this is happening, that he's going into the Hall of Fame.
Well, no, he's being reinducted into the Hall of Fame. He was removed from the Hall of Fame when this all spilled out a couple of years ago.
Right.
Now he's being reinducted.
Well, the question is,
he's welcome back.
Has enough time passed that people will have forgiveness for him?
Well, that's the thing. The superstars have forgiveness for Hogan. Okay, they want to forgive him. They forgive him in the sense of what he did because they don't want to perpetuate the endless cycle of hate and violence. They want to be able just to forgive and move on, which I think is the best stance you could have in a situation like this. It's the best route you can take.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, they understand that, but until he, that being Hogan, shows that he's truly contrite and sorry for what the things he said, not necessarily the fact that they got out. They really can't go the whole distance in forgiving and truly welcoming him back into the fold.
Right.
Right. Because basically, with WWE nowadays, ever since the whole philanthropy is the future of marketing, the fact that WWE is welcoming Hogan back into their good graces, it could be a token of good faith, or it could just be another cash grab. Could be just be another effort to look good in the media's eyes. A publicity stunt.
Yes, of course.
And you would hate to think that. But given how WWE and its management have operated, it's not something I can really put past them.
I wonder if this means he might make a surprise appearance at SummerSlam.
Well, people originally thought he was going to make a surprise appearance at Extreme Rules. That didn't go down.
Right.
There's one shocking rumor that's going around that Kurt Angle might be ousted as Raw GM and Hogan would take his place.
Really?
I think having such a high appearance, like having such a big time public appearance on a regular basis, that might be a little too much. I think this is one of those cases where if you're WWE, you gotta take it slow. You gotta slowly ingratiate Hogan back into the WWE system here. You can't just throw him out on TV.
Right, like he's a hero.
Like when the whole Paige situation went down. Like obviously she was out with an injury, but also they wanted to wait until everything from the controversy behind her tapes being released, all the controversy died down before bringing her back onto WWE television. Not to mention the whole convoluted situation with her and her ex, Alberto Del Rio. So it made
Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah, made perfect sense for them to keep her off of TV until everything surrounding her, all the controversy surrounding her, had died down. So I think the best thing to do is just kind of sit and wait on this. Don't bring him back so soon, because otherwise the crowd's gonna be all over him.
Okay, moving on.
Nowadays you can't put anything past a modern day WWE audience, because they'll just crap all over anything they can get their hands on.
Right.
Including this. This is the crash I was talking about. Ken's crash, the lower half of the segment. I honestly couldn't believe this. Basically, I thought it was a joke. Like I didn't read into this too much at first, but then as I looked back on the match, the Pittsburgh crowd, collectively speaking, was just a big jerk. Basically, yeah. You had the Ironman match. You had the Intercontinental title Ironman match, closing out the pay-per-view, and now usually, like when you see the Royal Rumble, the crowd will play along, like they'll do the countdown 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. But the thing was, every minute they were doing this. Every minute the crowd was counting down like it was the Royal Rumble. Like every minute, 29 minutes, 28 minutes, 27 minutes. You get what I mean? So on and so forth. And it was funny the first couple of times, but then it just started dragging on. And then at one point, and I saw this out of the corner of the screen when I was watching the pay-per-view, the clock on the big screen. They had a clock on the big screen counting on the minutes for the Iron Man match. The clock went out. They took the clock down. I thought it was a technical glitch, but then they took the clock down. The crowd just started booing, and basically they just started counting down at random times because they had no idea like how much time was actually left in the match because the clock got taken down. I thought, like I said, I thought it was an accident at first, but then I think it was kind of intentional because they didn't want the crowd hijacking the match just by counting down every minute on the minute. And then when they brought the clock back and the crowd just went nuts and started cheering. By that time, though, it was already like about way into the match, and really, I felt like it threw off the whole rhythm of the match, not to mention the way it ended, but we'll get to that in a little bit. I just felt like this was bad taste with all parties involved, because on the one hand, okay, you paid to come to this show. You paid to come to a show to have a good time. All right. It's about watching these superstars put on a show for you. It's not about hijacking the show and getting yourself over. Okay. If you weren't going to enjoy it, if you were just going to try and hijack it, if you're just going to try and make a spectacle out of yourself, don't come to the show. Okay. You can make as much a spectacle of yourself online and social media about the show without having to blow $100, $200 for a ticket. That's one thing. The other thing is Vince or whoever was in the production truck who decided to take the clock down. If that was their intention. I don't know if it was a technical glitch, but if it was their intention to take the clock down to kind of take the audience out of it and try to get them focused back in the match, it backfired. Because you're basically, the way they treat the crowd, you treat the crowd like children. You take away their favorite toy, this being the giant clock on the screen. Okay, you're taking away their favorite toy. They're going to lash out. They're going to lash out, and they're going to completely throw off the rhythm of the match. And they're going to. It was ridiculous on all fronts here. So I'm sorry. But this ended on. Not only did this match end on kind of a sour note, which we'll elaborate on, it just put a bad taste in everyone's mouth leaving the pay-per-view, which is something you don't want to do. You want them to leave on a good note, which boggles the mind why, Styles versus Rusev didn't main event Extreme Rules. Because you had the WWE Championship on the line. You had a solid face versus heel dynamic. You had two charismatic, technically savvy superstars duking it out for the biggest prize in WWE. It amazed me that it didn't go on last. Julie, what do you think about this? You said you saw Extreme Rules, right?
Yeah.
Do you see the ending?
Yeah.
How did you feel about it?
Well, I was upset because I picked Seth. I love Seth.
Well, not so much the outcome. I'm just talking about the match itself, just the way the crowd was reacting. With the clock and everything.
Yeah, I thought the clock thing was done intentionally, that they did that on purpose. I'm sure they did. That's all part of the marketing and the drama.
I wouldn't say so much it's part of the marketing. The point is you want the crowd to know how much time is left in an Ironman match.
Of course, it's the most important thing.
So why take it down in the middle of a match?
To create tension, hysteria. Why, you think it was an accident?
No, I think they did it because they didn't want the crowd, getting themselves over by counting down every single minute. That's what they did. When it was down to 29 minutes, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. 28 minutes, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
Yep.
The same thing.
Yeah, I know. They're always counting it down, yeah.
And that's why I think they took the clock down.
Because the crowd was too loud.
The crowd wasn't into the match. The crowd was more or less just trying to get themselves over. They weren't focused on the match. That's why they took the clock down, was to try to get the crowd back focused onto the match, but that backfired. Because basically you're taking away something that the crowd is entertaining themselves with.
Yeah.
Which is insulting in itself. Because people thought, if the crowd was leaving the last pay-per-view, it must have been because of Roman Reigns being the main event. Well, this time Roman Reigns wasn't in the main event. You had two internet favorites in Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins in the main event, and the crowd was just as distracted and uncaring as they were when Reigns was in the main event.
Well, maybe I thought maybe they were disinterested and stopped counting because they were not happy that Ziggler kept winning and kept fighting back, and they wanted Rollins.
That's the other problem, was that the way the match was mapped out. And I guess if you want to just go right into the review of this one, the problem with the way it was mapped out was that you had Rollins get an early lead. Mind you, Rollins is the face in this situation. And then you had Ziggler make the comeback thanks to McIntyre. that's what I found mind-boggling, is that you basically had Ziggler, the heel, making a comeback to tie it when he was down 3 falls to none.
I agree. I hated it.
It was like a reversal. You
And
would think
that's
that
probably why the fans stopped counting.
well, no, they stopped counting down because the clock was taken down.
No, I know. We're on the same page. Go ahead.
I don't feel like we are. Okay. So
Okay.
basically, the whole match was out of sorts. From
Yes.
the clock being taken down to the crowd just not caring, to really how the match was formatted. And I mean, first off, you had McIntyre assault Rollins for like a solid 2-3 minutes.
Yep.
Which begged the question, okay, how did Rollins only get 1 fall out of that? You think he would have gotten like 2-3 extra falls out of that via disqualification.
Right.
Because McIntyre just wouldn't stop assaulting him.
Right.
I mean, basically, he only got 1 DQ out of it, and then Ziggler just picked up 3 straight falls and tied the match. That made no sense.
Yep.
So basically, nothing about the match made sense. I mean, it was a solid match for what it was. I mean, Dolph and Rollins did the best they could, but just everything else that went on. Not to mention the ending. The ending, you had you had them tied at I think 4 falls apiece, and then it went to sudden death, which was the right call to make, because you didn't want the match ending. You didn't want the pay-per-view ending in a tie. That would have made no sense. You want the crowd to go home happy, right? You always want a pay-per-view crowd to go home happy.
Okay.
But in this case,
No problem.
you had McIntyre come out, who was originally banned from the match,
Right.
and he shouldn't have been there, and distracted Rollins long enough for Ziggler to hit a zigzag and get the winning pinfall. So basically, they had no idea what to do with the match. They just threw Ziggler. Told McIntyre, go out there, distract him, and that led to the finish. And the crowd left on a sour note. Now, typically, I get it. You want to have sometimes if you're not going to go with a happy ending, you want to go with a really shocking ending that leaves the crowd, shocked and amazed that this went down. Now, if you're going to go that route, I mean, when we were talking about this match last week, we were expecting a surprise return, one of Rollins' former tag team partners, like Jason Jordan or Dean Ambrose coming back. Problem is, that didn't happen. It was just McIntyre coming back, sticking his nose in, and Rollins losing because of it. Nothing else happened. No surprise returns, nothing shocking. It was just Ziggler winning.
Right.
So basically, the crowd left on a sour note, which I think is it's not something you do, okay? I mean, and nothing happened afterwards. So basically, the crowd went home, knowing that one of their favorite guys, Rollins, was the loser.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
So basically, you had them all leaving with a bad attitude. So basically, the match started out with a bad attitude. It ended with a bad attitude.
Yeah, it stunk. It was the worst.
Well, it wasn't the worst. It was a solid match from a technical standpoint. It was just everything surrounding it was bad. Like the way it was formatted, the way they had, the way they had it mapped out, the crowd, the technical issues with the clock, whether they were intentional or not, and the ending. The meat of the match was fine, but everything else was just rotten.
All right.
All right.
What do you want to do next?
Okay, so let's go to the pre-show and work our way up from there. The pre-show, I'm talking. Well, that's not the pre-show. Pre-show would be, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to think here. All right, let's go through the matches.
Okay. New Day.
Yeah, New Day versus Sanity tables match. All right, so this more or less played out the way I expected it to. I mean, it was a pre-show match, which is good. So they weren't subjected to time length. So they were able to structure things out. I mean, it was a little sprint, more or less, okay, because they were constrained by the main show starting. So this couldn't go as long as I wanted it to. But for what it was a nice little fun extreme match to get the crowd going. You had Sandy going over New Day when Eric Young there hit an elbow drop on Kofi through a table at ringside. So it was good. Sandy got their win. Their first win as a trios team on the main roster, which is good. I'm still a little miffed that their first match was on the main show. I know a lot of people say, well, they just came up from NXT. You need to bring them up slow. No, you need to have them on the main roster to just throw them in there and show that they're on equal footing right away with the rest of the main roster. It's all WWE. They're all on the same wavelength. It's not like they're any lesser of a team than New Day is. You got to show that they're just as good, if not better. But this was a good first step. All right, so let's see. There was also another pre-show match that got thrown together the last minute. Andrade Cien Almas versus Sin Cara. I don't have a photo for it.
Right.
But Andrade won in a very impressive way, dispatching Sin Cara in short order, which is good. Get his starter feud out of the way with a solid win. Good showing by both men. Sin Cara looked especially motivated because it's good that when you have a fellow former luchador in Almas, it allows Sin Cara to exercise a little less restraint when it comes to his style. So it's always good to see. All right, so moving on to the opener, which was the Deleters of Worlds versus the B Team for the tag team titles. This one took me a little by surprise. This was actually the only one I did not get right. I predicted that Bray and Matt were going to win this, and it turns out Axel and Bo ended up pulling out the win. This was actually played a lot more straightforward than I thought it would be. I thought it would be mostly a comedy match, a very short comedy match where Wyatt and Hardy would more or less just dispatch B Team in short order, but it ended up being that the Leaders of Worlds underestimated B Team, and B Team won. So I guess the B really does stand for best, because they ended up winning their first tag team title as a team. Actually, it's Curtis's second time as a tag team champion, and actually Bo's first championship since coming up to the main roster 7 years ago. 4 years ago. Sorry, 4 years ago. So, I mean, good for Bo, good for Curtis. But the other thing that I'm miffed about here is that really they seem a little more than just a transitional team right here. Because you got the Revival, you got the Authors of Pain kind of waiting to wing. So I don't feel like their championship reign is going to be a very long one, suffice to say. All right, let's take it over to the United States Championship match. You got Jeff Hardy defending against Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, this one was very short, and given that Jeff's been dealing with a number of injuries, including his back, which means he hasn't even been able to do the Swanton at live events, told me that, I mean, in hindsight, it wasn't a big shock that this match went the way it did. Basically, even before the match started, when the ref was handing off the championship, Shinsuke went behind the ref's back with a low blow to Jeff. The ref asked Jeff if he could start the match. Hardy did, but unfortunately, right after the bell was rung, Kinshasa, 1, 2, 3, new United States champion. So, not only, Shinsuke dispatching Hardy in short order, winning his first championship on the main roster. I thought this worked in a lot of ways. Obviously, with Jeff's nagging injuries, he couldn't wrestle a long match. It was a good rebound for Shinsuke. I mean, he had 4 failed runs at the WWE Championship. So, rebounding with the U.S. title, I think, was the next best thing for him. And, I mean, now the interesting thing, the wild card in all this, Wild Viper, I suppose, is Randy Orton popping up out of nowhere and really just going to town on Jeff. Not only on Sunday, but this past Tuesday on SmackDown when Jeff invoked his rematch for the United States Championship. As it seemed like he was closing in on winning back the U.S. title, Orton comes out of nowhere, assaults Hardy, and and very disturbingly so. Jeff has these like piercing, these ear holes. You see the piercings where usually he has his earrings right there, Julie.
Yes.
Orton actually stuck his finger into the hole and actually pulled it.
That's horrible.
I know it was torturous to actually watch. I actually, I'm oh, it's squeamish, and even I was wincing at that, and it's just like, this is like what Orton used to be back in his heyday, like the age of Orton back in '08, basically, just torturing and punishing people. It didn't matter who, basically. That was that. I mean, this is actually the most interested I've been in Orton as a character, on-screen character, in a while now. It just seemed like, I mean, and this is the thing. Orton has always wanted to be a heel, okay? He always feels like he himself is better off being a heel rather than a face, because it allows him to be more flexible in what he does, not just in the ring, but outside the ring. I mean, basically, as a face, it was all about, okay, who's he going to RKO next? Basically, now, okay, who's this guy going to torture next? Who is he going to RKO? Who is he going to punt? That's what he used to do back in the day. He used to like punt people that he didn't like. So basically, we can end up seeing more of that. So basically, I think in this case, heel Orton is the best Orton in my mind. I mean, it's a new direction for him. Obviously, we could see a triple threat for SummerSlam with him, Hardy, and Shinsuke, or it could just be, him versus Shinsuke. Because clearly, Shinsuke is just as thrown off by Orton being a heel and attacking Jeff as Jeff was. So I think it's like more mind games, and Orton's a master of them. So I think it'd be very intriguing to see a heel versus heel setup for the U.S. title going to SummerSlam with Shinsuke versus Randy Orton. I would be interested in seeing that. Okay, moving on from there. We have the SmackDown Tag Team titles. With the returning Team Hell No versus the Bludgeon Brothers. Now, unfortunately, this match suffered from an unfortunate real-time injury with Kane suffering a detached Achilles tendon. So, unfortunately, he could not go for this match. And they played up a segment before the match where he was taken out when the Bludgeon Brothers assaulted Team Hell No, placed his foot into a door, and whacked it closed with a hammer, injuring Kane and basically making him a non-factor for this match. So essentially, it was basically Daniel Bryan going by himself against the Bludgeon Brothers, and as hard as Bryan tried to fight, ultimately Bludgeons came out on top, even with some last-minute assistance by Kane, which really didn't go anywhere. Bludgeon Brothers ended up retaining after a double-team powerbomb on Bryan. And you know what? I like the effort. I like that they try to experiment here with a Team Hell No return. Try to go through basically the greatest hits of Team Hell No, but Kane's getting out there. He's in his 50s. He's running for mayor of Knox County. I'm not sure how wise it was to bring him back, even if the intention was to have him feud with Bryan. I feel like the best move is just basically just kind of get Kane out of this scenario right here. Which they seemingly did this past Tuesday on SmackDown, where Miz had a funeral, a eulogy for Team Hell No. Transitioning from that into saying that not only is Team Hell No dead, so is Daniel Bryan's career. So basically, just more ragging on Daniel Bryan, which is typical Miz. Basically, he'll take something solemn and seemingly sincere and turn it into a moment for himself, or a moment to rag on Daniel Bryan. So it accomplished a lot of things. I mean, the segment on SmackDown, it just made Miz even more detestable as a heel. Like every time he comes on, like he's entertaining, but he makes you hate him more and more, which is why I think he's one of the best heels out there in this day and age. He's pure unmitigated heeldom. And it furthers the feud between him and Bryan, which I think is best. Now, My question about that is, I mean, you and I have seen how this feud between them has been developing for years, building. Like, do you think like they could actually make this? I mean, I know Dan elaborated on this that Bryan doesn't feel confident this feud could last until WrestleMania. Do you think they would be better off just keep holding off on this feud, or do you think SummerSlam would be the best time to kind of kickstart it with a match?
I think SummerSlam. I mean, again, I go back to the marketing thing with uh, Daniel and the baby and baby Birdie and maybe the Bella, maybe Brie will be there with the baby. Maybe she'll come into the ring and not fight, but just bring the baby in or something. He is hot right now. He is of the moment, as they say.
Right. All right. So, I mean, personally, I think they could hold off on it for a little while. I mean, obviously, do something at SummerSlam. May not have a match at SummerSlam, but maybe a segment that really gets it going.
Excuse me for a second. I was online. I don't know where I was, YouTube or TMZ or something, and it was all about the Bellas. So, again, I think with SummerSlam, WrestleMania, he's going to be present.
Well, look, I mean, you know how I feel about the Bellas. You know I'm not a huge fan of the show, of them, okay? I respect, them. I respect Brie as a mother, and as a wife. I'm just not sure I want the Bellas anywhere near WWE programming. I mean, I could see something happening where maybe Miz tries to go for a cheap shot on Bryan, maybe like during a segment at SummerSlam, only to accidentally hit Brie. Obviously, the babies are nowhere near this.
Right.
It's just Daniel and Brie and Miz and maybe Maurice, and basically things break down, and then like basically it's something like what happened with Jericho, Michaels, and Michaels' wife back at SummerSlam back in '09. Basically, it turned a simmering feud between Michaels and Jericho into probably the best feud of that year. It made things so much more personal when Jericho accidentally popped HBK's wife in the mouth. Mm-hmm. It made it so much more personal and elevated the feud. So I think maybe something along those lines, obviously not something nearly as violent, mind you, but something along those lines would, I think, really help kick this feud into another level. So I'm in agreement with you. Not necessarily a match per se, but something.
Yeah, something.
Something to spark things further.
There you go.
All right.
All right.
All right. So moving on from there, we come to the SmackDown Women's Championship. Yeah, let's just get this one over with because honestly, just like the main event, there was nothing good about this match. I'm talking Carmella versus Asuka, James Ellsworth in a steel shark cage. Never mind banning him from the arena or having the shark cage up on the stage where he actually couldn't get involved. Instead, basically, you hung him up right above, about maybe 15, 20 feet above the ring. And they didn't even waste a minute into this match before he was already dropping foreign objects to Carmella, like brass knuckles, hairspray, pretty much the works. Which makes you wonder, so Paige didn't have him frisked before getting into the cage? Because you knew he was going to pull something. And, I mean, then, it was a nothing match, but then you had more of the focus was on Ellsworth trying to, lockpick his way out of the cage. And then he gets caught up. I mean, not like we couldn't see the big red harness he was hanging from the ring, from the cage. And basically, as he was being lowered down to be freed, Asuka took her focus completely off of Carmella for 3-4 minutes just to kick the crap out of Ellsworth. And basically, by the time they managed to get him down, and Asuka was completely, her focus was completely divided again. Carmella just takes Asuka's head, rams it into the bottom of the cage, and boom, 1, 2, 3. That's it.
Yeah.
Never mind that should have been a DQ right there, using the cage as a weapon.
Right.
But
It was cuckoo with him when he was hanging by one leg.
the whole match was stupid.
Upside down.
The whole concept was stupid. And the other part of it, it makes Asuka look like even more of an idiot because she lost the same way she lost the first time by completely being distracted by Carmella. I mean, they're booking Carmella to get by on complete fluke wins. Now, here's the thing. If she had used Ellsworth to maybe distract her long enough to get to actually out wrestle her and win, then yeah, there you go. That would be a solid underhanded heel win. That'd be fine.
Right.
But this bordered on lunacy because basically Carmella had to bank on basically Asuka being completely enveloped, completely distracted with Ellsworth just to get one cheap shot in.
Yeah.
So basically capitalizing on Asuka being an idiot again.
Yeah.
Okay, for the same exact reason. Basically the same thing. Being distracted by Ellsworth again.
Is it true that Ellsworth and Carmella are a couple in real life?
No.
Okay.
Not in the slightest.
Okay. I didn't think so. All right. Well, let's get this one done.
Yeah, less said about
said
this.
the better, yeah.
Moving on. Moving to the other women's championship match, the Raw Women's Championship match, an Extreme Rules match. One of the few gimmick matches on the Extreme Rules card, ironically enough. This was fine for what it was. I mean, it was essentially Nia taking the brunt of the weapons shots, as I was expecting here. Ronda got dragged into this. But the problem, and the crowd popped big for Ronda, but Ronda ended up being a non-factor in this because, because Alexa won despite Ronda getting involved and violating her suspension.
I know. I can't believe Alexa won.
So, yeah, Alexa wins. And then, basically, the match was... Ronda comes out again the following night when Alexa was boasting about her win in Extreme Rules. Basically beats her and Mickey about the arena. Security has to come and separate them. Angle, after going back and after having a back and forth with Corbin, essentially says, okay, this has to stop. I will make a match between you and Alexa at SummerSlam for the Raw Women's Championship, but if you interfere or you try to ambush her again, the match is off. So, basically, okay, oh yeah, he adds another week under his suspension, but she gets a title match. So, basically, even though they said, oh, but we won't show you any favoritism, we're going to treat you like any other WWE superstar. Okay, so she gets suspended for 2 weeks, and she gets a title match on her return.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no favoritism there whatsoever.
I know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the right match, obviously. It's the right match. Like I've said for the last couple of weeks, Alexa makes a better foil for Ronda. Simply because she's more well-rounded on the mic. She's slightly better in the ring than Nia.
Yeah, she's very good. Oh, sorry. She's very good on the mic.
She's very good on the mic. So overall, she has a better presence. She makes a better rival for Ronda than Nia does.
She does. I could see her, like Cena someday, crossing over into movies. I'm calling it.
You mean
she's really...
You mean Ronda or Alexa?
No, Alexa.
Maybe.
Because she's really good. She's a good actress.
Someday, maybe.
Anyway.
I don't quite see it, but yeah, I feel like this was the right move to make. And I'm sorry, but Kurt is probably the stupidest man to ever be a general manager on WWE.
Oh, yeah.
Because basically, when Corbin was saying, oh, I'm going to go call Stephanie McMahon about you showing Ronda favoritism, and then Kurt, on live TV, reveals, oh, he's probably looking for this, and holds up Corbin's cell phone.
Yeah.
So basically, you're admitting to the audience, you're admitting to Corbin, and worst of all, Stephanie, who I assume is watching the program, that you stole Corbin's cell phone.
Yep.
And of course, there's probably not going to be almost no repercussions from this, because WWE doesn't believe in that annoying thing called, continuity.
Yep.
Or having a memory that lasts more than 7 days. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on from there.
Moving on.
All right, we cover the Raw Tag Team titles, SmackDown Tag Team titles, Raw Women's Championship, SmackDown Women's Championship, United States Championship, Intercontinental title.
How about this one?
Yes. Well, speaking of Corbin, nice segue there. Corbin versus Finn Balor. This was basically, these two just kind of I think they just went through the motions on this one. I mean, it was a fine match for what it was. Corbin's got that big, impactful moveset, but there's almost nothing to his character here. I mean, I want to feel like that this Constable thing is going somewhere. Like, maybe, like, he ultimately usurps control from Angle, or, like, something or other, or it leads to a championship. So far, it hasn't led anywhere. And that's what's annoying me about this. It's a do nothing position on screen. Nothing has happened so far. Balor got the win off an inside cradle, countering out of the end of days. So, I mean, Finn gets a solid win, keeps what little momentum he had going. So good for Finn. So I mean, this feud was based basically out of Corbin calling Finn a small guy. I mean, it's got to be one of the worst. I mean, I know a lot of storylines and matches come out of excuses, more or less, but this was just a poor excuse. I mean, come on, creative, seriously. Even you can do better than this. All right, so I think that brings us to Lashley versus Reigns, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so this one was another one that was pretty by the book right here, and mostly it was Lashley's doing, because Reigns just mailed it in here. I mean, Julie, you said you saw the match, right?
Yes, I did.
I mean, Reigns was basically, punch, kick, punch, kick,
Yep.
punch,
Yep.
kick,
Yep.
Big throw, suplex,
Yep.
and Superman punch.
Yeah.
Basically, he telegraphed everything. Like he really mailed it in here. And then you had Lashley surprising him when Reigns was going for the spear. Lashley counters with one of his own and gets the 3 count.
Yeah.
So shockingly enough, you have Roman Reigns losing a mid-card match.
Definitely, I was shocked. This is not who I picked.
I know, I picked Lashley. It just didn't go the way I expected. I thought it would be a far more hard-hitting match. Obviously, it was a good appearance for Lashley, getting a big win over a big superstar in Reigns. Just wasn't as impactful as I was expecting. I mean, here's the insult. Here's the insulting thing, and this is where I don't like WWE insulting our intelligence as fans. Okay, the next night on Raw, Kurt Angle, after making, here's the other big thing about Extreme Rules was Angle making his ultimatum to Lesnar. Okay, we need to know what your plan is with your Universal Championship. Whether you're going to defend at SummerSlam or not, and if not, then we're going to have to strip you of the championship. So Paul Heyman comes out, says, okay, Lesnar will defend at SummerSlam, okay, and it'll be up to the universe, it'll be up to Angle to decide who will be Lesnar's next opponent, or in Heyman's mind, next victim. So basically, you have a number of superstars come out looking to make claim for the Universal Championship. You have, obviously, Lashley, who won his match against Reigns. You have Finn Balor, who won his match against Corbin. Those two right away, they make perfect sense. But then it starts getting a little weird. You have Rollins come out, who lost his match to Ziggler because of McIntyre. You have McIntyre coming out saying, okay, he's not all about, keeping the championship on Ziggler. He's focused on making change for himself, for WWE, which is why he wants a shot at Lesnar. That actually makes sense too. But then you have Elias, of all people, come out, who hasn't had a notable win on television or on pay-per-view, aside from his title match loss to Rollins at Money in the Bank. And then you have Reigns come out. And this is the most infuriating. Reigns says, okay, I don't care about the title. I don't care about Lesnar. I just want to fight someone. So basically, Reigns would have cared less if he had been given another opportunity. He just wanted someone to fight. So you could have given him a match against a do-nothing mid-card opponent, and Reigns would have been satiated. Instead, Angle throws him back right into the title situation. They end up making 2 triple threat matches, with the winners of both matches facing each other next week, and whoever wins that match gets the opportunity against Lesnar at SummerSlam. So what happens? Okay, Lashley wins his triple threat match, and when it's Reigns versus McIntyre versus Balor, oh, big shock, Reigns wins. So now we're getting Reigns versus Lashley again, even though we already had Lashley beating Reigns clean as a whistle at Extreme Rules. So basically, we're having a number 1 contender match after we essentially already had a number 1 contender match in all but name, where Lashley won. So, I mean, that's the big question. Why is Reigns in this match? Okay, he didn't care about being the Universal title. He didn't care about Lesnar. He said he just wanted someone to fight, and now he's fighting Lashley again. And if he beats Lashley, he gets Lesnar again. I mean, do you understand my frustration here? Is that, okay, Reigns seemingly no longer cares about being the Universal Champion or beating Lesnar, and yet he could very well get an opportunity. Julie?
I'm right here.
I know, I asked you a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got distracted. Yes, I do see your frustration. Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted because we had a little technical problem here, but we're good.
All right, so...
We're still live on Facebook, on YouTube.
So, I mean, are you worried that maybe they're really going to go with Reigns getting yet another opportunity at Lesnar here, even though his story with Lesnar seems far past played out?
Well, I'm a Reigns fan, so I don't mind if that continues a little bit. But I think
you don't mind that he keeps getting opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity.
I think Lashley's going to be the new guy now.
But okay, so what makes you think Lashley's going to be the new guy?
Yeah, I do.
No, what makes you think he's going to be the new guy?
Well, because first of all, look at him. He can play the part. He's not very good on the mic, but he's definitely huge, and he could be the big dog in the yard. I mean, just look at him. And the fact that he have him up against Reigns, I think they want to keep him at this caliber.
Well, the other thing is that Lashley, like Lesnar, has an MMA, a mixed martial arts background.
Yep.
I mean, he's well versed. So putting him up against Lesnar would be not only a WWE dream match, but it would be an MMA dream match.
Yep, and it would make history.
It'd be history making. I mean, imagine having someone other than Reigns coming in and dethroning Lesnar. What would that do for Roman's psyche, knowing that someone else came in and knocked off Lesnar?
Yep.
I mean, I think that would be great. Is just see what would the psychological ramifications that would have for someone like Reigns, who was so keyed in on wanting to knock off Lesnar, on trying to get that Universal title off of him, and for all the hardworking, full-time working Joes like Reigns, and knock Lesnar off, only to have someone else do it. Someone literally just come in off the streets, back into WWE, back into their good graces, and knock Lesnar off themselves.
Right.
I would just like to see what that does. I mean, if there was any reason to turn Roman heel, this would be it.
Really?
Well, just imagine him lashing out, saying at Lashley, and everyone else saying, okay, oh, so you couldn't trust me to knock him off, so you had to bring in someone from the outside to do this. To bring someone who hadn't been in WWE for over a decade to knock off Lesnar. You couldn't trust me to get the job done. Well, okay, you couldn't get the job done after 4 times. You had so many opportunities at the Universal title, and you blew it every single time. So, I mean, I think if there's any justification for Reigns turning heel, that would be it.
No, that would be cool.
It would. I mean, Vince has got to pull the trigger, okay? I keep saying this. I know I sound like a broken record saying this. He's got to pull the trigger on Reigns turning heel. Okay, if he wants him to get over, if he wants him to be that true blue cornerstone, the new face of the new generation, then okay, he's gotta be willing to see, to see us on some level here, to see the fans and see everyone else. I mean, everyone else has said, okay, Reigns should go heel. His family members say he should go heel. His friends say he should go heel. Okay, former superstars say he should go heel. Half the current roster thinks he should go heel. I think he should go heel. You think he should go heel. Everyone thinks he should go heel, but Vince McMahon. Basically the one voice who matters. I mean, listen to me. My throat's going sore over this.
So this is now
I've crowed about this so many times. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I think Reigns would be best suited for a heel turn with Lashley winning the Universal title. Or, I mean, maybe Reigns somehow finds his way into this. It's a triple threat match at SummerSlam. He finally wins, only to have, say, Strowman cash in his Money in the Bank and take the title from Reigns. That would be another good reason for him to snap and go heel. All right. But, okay, so let's move on from that. Let's move on to the final match. I believe it's the final match, if I'm not mistaken.
AJ.
AJ Styles defending WWE title against Rusev. It is unfortunately not a not so happy Rusev day for Rusev, as because of some mistimed interference from Aiden English, Rusev would end up cracking his head on the exposed turnbuckle and losing to a phenomenal forearm from AJ Styles. Now the match was very well done. A lot of good focus on AJ's ailing back, as well as Rusev's bum leg. So I mean, it was a good back and forth technical contest right here. A nice couple of near falls to really make us think that Rusev just for 1 second might win the WWE title, but ultimately it wasn't meant to be. Now we saw on SmackDown this past Tuesday the notion that Rusev may be splitting with English and moving on with his wife Lana, once again being his corner, his valet. Now, I think that may or may not be best. I mean, a big part of Rusev Day getting over as well as it did, as effectively as it did with the audience, was having English as Rusev's corner man, singing his praises, basically being his minstrel and such, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm not so sure what it would do to have Aiden, parted from Rusev. Obviously, they may want Rusev to go with a more heel route right here. But, okay, I don't know why they're going so against the grain right here. Rusev is very charismatic. He's very entertaining. So why not try to get him over as a face? I mean, I'm hoping that if they do the split here with English, it's not so they can just go and pigeonhole Rusev back into a foreign heel shtick. Because that got played out a couple of years ago. That got played out last year when they had the flag match with him against Cena. So personally, I hope they don't split English from Rusev. That's just my take. As for Styles, I mean, Paige said that she would announce Styles' SummerSlam opponent for next week. I mean, there are a couple of names that come to mind. The first name that comes to mind for me facing Styles at SummerSlam would be Samoa Joe. For my money, I would love to see Joe and Styles mix it up. Because obviously, I know these two from their time down in TNA wrestling. Mixing it up in ROH, in TNA. I would love to see these two go at it at SummerSlam. Because having two former TNA superstars facing off for the WWE Championship at SummerSlam, I think would be not only extremely ironic it would be one of the top matches of the night. I think a match of the night, because these two have such great chemistry with each other. I don't doubt that they could put on an excellent contest. So personally, I hope it's Samoa Joe that Styles ends up facing. Julie.
Yes, sir.
Now, who on the SmackDown roster would you like to see face Styles at SummerSlam for the WWE title?
KO.
KO's not on the SmackDown roster.
I didn't say that, did I?
You said Kevin Owens.
Finn Balor.
Finn's on Raw.
I thought we were talking about Raw.
I'm talking about SmackDown. I said SmackDown.
I would like to see Dean Ambrose come back.
Ambrose is on Raw.
I know.
He's not coming back to SmackDown. He's on Raw. Do you want to look up the SmackDown Raw?
Sheamus.
Okay, Sheamus is on the SmackDown. Well, why would you want to see Sheamus face?
Or Cesaro.
Okay, why would you want one of the Bar to face Styles?
Because I like them and I'd like to see them. I think that would be a good match.
Well, I don't doubt that Sheamus or Cesaro could give AJ a tough physical match. I mean, Cesaro versus Styles sounds like a dream match to me.
Well,
I'm curious to know I know Sheamus was dealing, like I said, with spinal stenosis. I know he's been dealing with he's been plagued with back injuries. I'm just wondering what happened to Cesaro.
I don't know.
I haven't really seen or heard much of Cesaro in 2018, which boggles the mind.
Well, do you think they're just going to keep them as a tag team and not let them be individuals for now?
Well, I mean, if you're going to keep, I understand keeping Sheamus off of the active roster. That makes sense. You want him to rest and heal up. But if Cesaro doesn't have any nagging injuries, I mean, the worst thing you can do is just sit him. Let him compete.
Yes,
right?
Cesaro and AJ would be a good
He's another
matchup.
body on the roster. He's an able body on the SmackDown roster.
Yeah.
He could have a number of great matches. He could have matches with Jeff Hardy, matches with Shinsuke, like we just said, matches with Styles. I mean, there are a number of people that Cesaro could match up really well with on the SmackDown roster.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm a little disappointed that they haven't done more with him rather than just, sit him on the bench along with Sheamus.
Yeah, I mean, and he's incredible. He's very talented.
He is very much so, and it's a little nuts that they haven't had him as much on SmackDown this year as he's been since he came over in the Superstar Shakeup.
The other person that would be good would be Ken Hill.
I'd probably last all 5. All the 5 amazing seconds I'd be in there against Styles. Yeah.
Well, isn't Julian Warren
on
SmackDown?
Okay, no.
Okay. Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Julian. All right. But that's
That's about it, folks.
that's about it for us. Very kind of an abridged version of our Extreme Rules pay-per review. View. I'd like to thank, of course, Julie Minugian for coming in. For coming in and subbing in for Nick today. Thank you very much, Julie.
My pleasure. I'll
right.
always come back and visit and hang out.
All right, so next week we'll be going back to our regularly scheduled program. Next Friday at 3 p.m., we will be doing our SummerSlam feature. So basically, our first feature for next week will be basically the best and worst of SummerSlam main events. Basically for me and Dan, what's been our favorite SummerSlam main events and what's been our not so favorites. So that's something to look forward to. We'll be having all these kind of summer features leading up to the actual SummerSlam pay-per preview view in a few weeks. So in the meantime, make sure to, of course, check out the WrestlingConnection.com and check out all of its features, including the latest Wrestling Connection episode. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, or all over social media. But most importantly, remember to stay safe and to be connected get connected, and stay connected. Yeah, have a good weekend, y'all.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye.
I've heard it too many times to ignore it. It's something that I'm supposed to be.
Someday we'll find it, the wrestling connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. La da da dee da da doo. La da 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 dee da doo.
Oh yeah!